morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and thanks for stopping by. Our dedicated team will guide you through with the latest updates and theories at Starbase, Texas. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon for future streams.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Starbase friends around the world. Astro Joe here for RGV Aerial Photography, Starbase Weekly, episode 142. RGV was able to get a flight in on Thursday afternoon after this exciting week, and I'll pass it on over to your host, Stephanie.
G'day from Australia, hello everyone, and welcome to our live stream. We've got a couple of commentators with us today. We'll say g'day first to Alex. How you going?
Doing great. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. It's a great show. It was wonderful shots.
And we've got Lawrence with us as well. Hello, Lawrence. How you going?
I'm good this week, especially after this launch and all the excitement coming up over at the launch site that's starting to resume.
Absolutely. Now, with that, we'll jump over to Massie's. There's Massie's. Now, I suppose we could have gone to launch site first, being post-launch, but let's just go through Massie's first. So not a great deal to report on Massie's this week. There seems to be still going forward with getting this test rig ready for the next test article, which I presume is going to be a booster. And we can see, I think last week, I don't think we saw these lugs last week. We can see these lugs here have been welded on, or at least placed in them. And if we look over yonder, we can see the same lugs are in this ring here, which seems to have positions for 10 of these lugs. So it looks like that's that 10 engine ring. And we've got the 20 outer engine rams to go to the outer 20 engine mounts around the outside here. So this will be the first time we've seen a can crusher that can apply flight type loading to all 33 Raptor engine mounts, as opposed to the old can crusher that can only really sort of put pressure on the middle 13. I guess, I mean, in an active way, I would say. Not much else to report here. They've still got these rods. It looks like they're going to use these rods. I think we've mentioned it over the last couple of weeks now that these rods will be used to pull against the thrust sim rams. We've mentioned before that the 5 big actuators holders are in place, and the ones that are going to apply twisting force are in place. So everything's in place to give the next article a pretty thorough workout. We do have a change over at the Scrapyard. I guess we call this a Scrapyard these days. In that they've started to scrap booster 11s aft, and we can also almost see the thrust puck is almost completely out, which is good to see. Are we getting questions in chat? Are they going to reuse the thrust puck? I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure V2 is going to have a different aft thrust puck.
Yeah, I think we've seen little spoilers of the next aft section in Sanchez there a few weeks ago with that article that we found in Sanchez that could indicate how the new thrust puck's going to be set up. That's one for the ring watchers.
Yes.
We do have a little... Go on.
Oh, no, it's the Massie's storage and scrapyard these days.
It is, yeah. There's a little concrete slab going on down here. Really not sure what's going to happen there. They poured this half, and they're currently pouring this half. It's kind of a random spot. I'm not sure what's going to happen there. Didn't seem to have any embeds that we noticed. Kind of popped up out of nowhere, that little slab.
Yeah.
The infrastructure seems, we're not really expecting, not really expecting any great infrastructure change. Everything seems to be pretty well in place at Massie's.
Just the new integration of the can crusher, but that's still an open-ended question.
Though on that, there's probably not a lot of infrastructure change. They've already got the plumbing in place from the tank farms. There's no real infrastructure change there to occur. There's still this little station over here. They can run other tests in this area if they need to, or perhaps even run over to that old jail. I still expect that old nose cone jail to be disassembled, to be honest. Let's call that a nose cone child. Over at the static fire stand, we noticed that they've moved the platform back out, and in one of the shots, they've got the chains dropped down. Well, at least I thought they had the chains dropped down. Anyhow, yes, they are. See, I wasn't imagining things. They have the chains dropped down. It looks like they're actually in the process, as we speak, of lifting this back up. So we should expect to see that roll back to the build site soon to go and pick up Ship 33 to come and do a static fire stand in preparation for Flight 7. We'll cover more of that when we get to the build site. So that's a fairly quick rundown of Massie's. I'm not sure what else to talk about at Massie's. Can we perhaps have any sort of questions and donations? Okay, we seem to have lost Joe. So I'm going to start going through. Flippers79 flipped has gifted 1 membership. Thank you very much. And James Barr picked up that. Awesome. Jake Winlay gifted 10 memberships. That's awesome support there. I'm not going to run through all those 10 people, but congratulations on your new memberships. Got a couple more there. Toby Waby. Okay, Toby Waby gifted 5 memberships. Awesome. And here's a couple more. Chevy. Okay, Chevy Steve gifted 5 memberships. That's awesome. Clistia Lee, long-time supporter. Clistia Lee and I moderate on other channels. We have a fair bit to do with each other through the week, which is awesome. Gifted 5 memberships. Thank you very much, Calistia. And I haven't seen any questions yet.
Sounds like I stepped away at the wrong moment.
Oh, here we go. You're right. I'm going to bring up a question myself here. Thanks. You're right, Joe. We're a bit quick. I probably sprung that on you a bit quickly there. It's all good. Do we think the SpaceX will install a permanent crane next to the new can crusher? A crane like they use at the Cape to unload F9s from the drone ships. Oh, like a crane that's like permanently pinned to the ground. That's a good question. It's possible. Not sure what they're obviously going to need to use some kind of crane to get test articles in and out of this test rig. So yeah, one way or another, there'll either be a permanent crane or some kind of crane here on a permanent basis for sure.
I could see them moving the LR 11,000 down here, depending how much higher this fixture gets.
The SpaceX one from the launch site.
Yeah, Marvin.
I guess it won't be used a lot more in the near future. I mean, it still gets used every now and again after launches for to replace ship quick disconnect hoses sometimes, but it hasn't had a lot of use down there, so that could very well happen. That's probably more than likely is what's going to happen, actually.
Yeah, I think they still have Grover, so I think that can pretty much reach, and they don't need that extra heavy lifting that the LR11K can provide.
Okay, let's give a bit of patience with the questions. We'll keep going through them. Where do you think SpaceX will eventually build a new liquid propellant production? We'll get to that at the launch site. That's Ron Benson. At the launch site, they're looking at doing an air separation unit. I'll just hand it back over to Joe for a minute. How are you going over your side, Joe?
All right, good. We got the question bot going again. I don't know if you addressed Pete Longlong. What is the white rectangle between the nose cone jail and test rig cap?
That's a good question. Oh, hang on. That's a RAM. Sorry, Alex.
Yeah, I was just saying what you were about to. It's the ramped calibration and testing fixture. There's normally a hydraulic cylinder connected in a load cell.
Sorry, just looking at chat. Long live Ship 26. Lol. That's funny. Funny as. Poor Ship 26. We'll get to that in a minute anyway. And thanks, Joe.
Indeed, just got one more from Phil. A statement. It says, I don't want them to put up the platform on the static fire stand. I love seeing the engines when they roll from the pictures and live streams. True, me too.
Yeah, I got to agree. That's one little disappointment about this platform. As much as we like to see them using awesome technology, it is going to hide our view of the engines, unfortunately. So we won't actually know. Because of that, we won't. Well, I was going to say we won't know when a Raptor 3 engine is on a ship, but with any luck, we'll get this camera down here again. It must be just there somewhere, is it? That little camera that they film the static fires from, and hopefully we'll get to see whether Raptor 3 or not is under one of the ships in the near future. There's the rumor has it that we may see version 3 Raptor 3 on a version 2 ship. We'll just have to see. Nothing official from SpaceX, of course, just a rumor on the street. Okay, anything else, Joe?
Nope, my queue is clear.
I'll quickly jump over to the development block. There was a scaffold scene. Some people showed some ground images of a scaffold set up, maybe for observation for the launch. Perhaps some of the engineers were watching from back here. You can see the scaffolding remains here. They seem to be doing, perhaps starting to do something here. I seem to recall that they have plans again for building on this lot soon. We heard a while ago they weren't going to do the commercial shops and shopping centres so much, but I think there's an apartment building going here. There was something I saw in tweets.
There's a curious pile drill right in the center by your hand.
Yeah, they're going to start construction of something. I think it's something to do with accommodation rather than a shopping centre, though.
It's an odd place to drill since that was previously laid out as a roadway.
It is. The roadway's over there. Now it's beside the roadway.
You're right. So they could be realistically putting in two different on either side of the road, so that is a possibility.
It's unusual building down here and not up here where they've compacted the soil. That's strange. But yeah, we can see a bit of activity, some new machinery here that hasn't been here. There's some concrete trucks here, I guess it would be to do with the piles. Can we see the rebar cages? They may be building them. I hear they're building them here.
Correct.
So yeah, something's going on. We'll keep an eye on that over the next few weeks. And with that, we'll jump over to Sanchez. We've got a few lovely panoramic shots this week. Not so much as Sanchez. We'll have a look at a couple in the build side in a second. Some nice overall shots. Always like to see a bit of the aeroplane in the photos. It's not a thumb, I promise. That's a wheel. Okay, we'll start over here at the launch mount. Seems to be the hot topic of Sanchez at the moment. So not a lot visual we can see really, but we can imagine that there's a whole ton of welding going on. We can see these links. We saw a couple last week. These links right here they've been welded in last week. They were welded in, those ones and these ones, and now we've got all of them have been completed now. So they weren't part of the original pieces that arrived. That's in between the corner piece and the straight piece. So all of them have been put in place.
They've put in some temporary bracing between the tops of the openings.
Fairly rugged way to do that, but it's obviously effective.
Crude but effective.
Yeah, so they haven't completely dropped all their agricultural type. I say that with all due respect to all the farmers out there. We're a very, very innovative bunch of people, the farmers are. We've got some end caps, we think, are for the deluge pancake. They're kind of flat, but you would think that they would need to be curved to fit around the curves. I'm not exactly sure what's going on there.
They could be for the back where the water manifold would connect.
Okay.
And from the air, those do look curved, but I would say the curves are probably faceted, just like the OLED inner circle is as well.
And they could even be for this edge to sort of restrict water flow. So we're not sure whether these are covered now. There's been a lot of chat, a lot of questions asked in chat about how the water's going to exit this circle here, whether it's just going to come straight out. We should be a bit, I don't know whether you'd want them coming straight out on the engines before they started. Although I think it was Jake was talking about in show and tell that perhaps they don't actually activate the pancake water system until the engines have ignited and it's actually the booster is underway, and perhaps even until the bells clear the pancake even, which wouldn't be too hard to time, I wouldn't imagine. So there's lots of things to look at like that in the future with how this whole system's going to operate, which will be very interesting.
It would be extremely challenging to deliver enough water with that size opening and also maintain pressure to shoot water through those holes in the top surface.
So we'll have some of the people are talking maybe there's going to be maybe they're going to be blocked off, maybe there's going to be a downward, like some kind of downward deflector with smaller holes. That's a good point, Alex. If you had these completely open, it would be very hard to maintain correct flow and pressure. You'd end up with like dry spots perhaps where water would just sort of flow out through here rather than fill up the whole pancake. I think that's something we've mentioned in show and tell a couple of times also.
Correct.
Okay, we'll go over to these little brackets. Actually, while we're at the pancakes, so we can see 3 completed pancakes. Took me a second, but we need 8 of these, 2 for each side, so 8 of these all up they're going to need. So we've got 3 completed ones and a few corner pieces, so still a few pieces to arrive and to get welded together. And I guess it'll be a minute before we see them actually installed. There's talk maybe that they could be removable, but I'm not sure if that's actually possible, because to make it removable, it have to be bolted down. I think with the acoustic energy, I think it creates some vibrations. I'm pretty sure they'll be welded in place.
From looking at the reinforcement of some of the bays, it looks like they're depending on the strengths of those to transfer the clamping loads to it.
Yeah, I would kind of imagine these will work like the burn plates on top of the current OLM, where they'll be welded, and if need to be replaced, they'll just cut them out.
Keep adding 2 on top like they do at the top of the OLM.
cut out a
perhaps.
section, weld it back in.
Yeah.
So the couple of these pieces have been moved over. Perhaps they're going to be painted, or they're on these cribbings. And there's still more pieces of steel have arrived over here for more and more of the edge sections. So there's a lot more of them to be built. There's still no idea exactly what they're for. There's one of two things: either for if they're going to have a platform over the OLM like they do at Massie, under the OLM, sorry, over the flame trench, like they do at Massie's. Perhaps this is part of that structure, or the other thought is it's part of the flame bucket. Again, we've been over that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it could be for both, honestly, because they both have similar structures.
I remember that, yeah, the platform had sort of similar things underneath it at Massey's there.
It's for a truss, when the Massie shape is truss-like, it dipping without more center support, it's more likely than not for the flame bucket.
Yeah, I agree.
But
Although I
we will
do try,
find out.
yeah, as much as I agree one way or another of certain things, I always like to present both sides of what people are chatting about, just to keep it all out there in the open. We see a lot of plumbing missing from the front of the ground fab building here. And we'll see them later on at the launch site. And we're going to see a piece, we're going to see this crane piece twice in the flyover today. It makes an appearance later on in a different spot. So it's a bit of a one item in two different locations, a bit like a Schrodinger's piece. That doesn't sound right. It must be another physicist.
It's the Schrodinger's crane piece.
If you observe it here, it can't be over there. If you don't observe it at the two places, I don't know. I'm just.
Oh,
Moving right along, we have no more. I guess that's all on the launch mount. We'll just, I guess, are there any fresh questions about the launch mount? I think we've over the last few weeks, we've pretty well been over the launch mount in a great amount of detail, and I'm not sure there's much more to talk about it this week. Joe, is there anyone asking anything about the actual launch mount before we move on?
Yeah, I got a question from Phil. Have the corners always been boxed off in a way within the OLM?
yes, they have. They're part of the structural elements hold on the corners. The lower section, they're substantially reinforced in the corners.
Which leads to indicate it could be on that they're going to have four legs, doesn't it?
It's a definite potential. More likely than not. And
Question from Six String Simpleton. Will the entire launch mount be assembled at Massey's and rolled out as one piece, or will there be a lot of assembly done at the launch site?
they will probably do as much of the fit out at Massey's at Sanchez as possible.
Yeah,
It'll go on.
I was just going to agree with that, that I see it being fitted out and pretty much being set in place like the tower modules.
Seems to be the way they're doing things lately. I mean, they may, for lightness, they may. I mean, all the plumbing's going to be in there, the top pancake's going to be on there. For lightness, they may not put the clamps in, but if you think of the whole structure, the clamps aren't going to weigh much compared to the rest of the structure. So you're more than likely to be completely fitted out. If we don't have the booster Raptor quick disconnects in between the clamps, there'll be a lot less. Well, there's really only the clamps and the clamp system and the water deluge system in here. There's not a lot in here compared to the current OLM, which is amazingly complicated. So this is going to be substantially less complicated.
And I don't think any of us really know, but Everett Jan In is asking how heavy will that mount approximately be?
few hundred tons. Somewhere between 100 tons and 700 tons. I got no idea.
Sounds about right. And Phil stating, controversial, I know, but still think it's going to be a one-way flame trench. What do you all think?
We can get into it more at the launch site.
And that we
All
will.
right.
My cue is clear.
I'll move on. Thank you, chat, for those questions. Always nice to have questions. Okay, so moving, well, I was up to over here. They haven't done anything more with this transport stand after we thought we were getting excited because they painted it and had workers here and welders, and looked like they were going to continue on, but it seems to have been put on the back burner once again. So
Did
we'll
they
have to keep an
clean
eye
up
on that.
the stands where the previous one was built?
Yep.
So does that mean they're getting ready to build a new one, or does that mean they're not going to build another new one?
Yes.
I've got the best questions. Trust me. Okay, we have a new, what are these called? Jig, factory jig. I think we look on an angle shot. This one's a little different in that it's got a step on the very outside. So I think in the last time we see them up on top. This one seems to be inside the stands, and it has a step on the outside, which may be where a ship or booster section sits down onto, perhaps. Perhaps that's the 9 meters, and the rest was slightly bigger than 9 meters. So that's an interesting, different one of those jigs. We think maybe turntable base, maybe turntable top, but it kind of looks turntable-ish. And there's parts per even more again, so we're going to see more of them again. And I guess as production increases in the factory, and as they bring more and more pieces, more and more sections of the factory online, they're going to need a lot more of these stands and jigs, etc., to keep production up. Because if we see 25 flights a year, that means 2 complete vehicles every 2 weeks. One complete vehicle every 2 weeks, which is quite a step up in production compared to what we're seeing currently.
Well, you also got to remember that they're going to be not only increasing the cadence, but they're going to start reusing these vehicles at some point. So they're going to need to ramp up, obviously, for their Mars plans. But right now, it's going to be more about getting the tankers and Starlink online.
True, yeah, and the reusable, of course, I did neglect to mention the reusability just then. So they won't have to continuously make one every 2 weeks. Correct. Thanks for that correction. It seems to be getting busier and busier in this lot every week, but I think that's just my imagination. But it is quite a busy lot with ground support, plumbing going on. We keep seeing each week more and more different pieces of the cryo plumbing and the tank farm plumbing and commodities plumbing.
Yeah, as the chopsticks and the SQD arm gets filled out and more of the stuff happens at the launch site, I think we're going to start seeing this definitely be clearing out a lot sooner as the weeks go by before the end of the year.
Agreed. Yeah, it'll be a clear block again. Then it'll all look vacant like it did just after the tower sections were completed. And then I'm not sure what's going to happen after that. I guess we'll see something else.
There'll be another construction staging area needed, possibly.
Perhaps a massive rocket garden.
I think there's a mega bay type structure will be built before it goes to a rocket garden.
Of course, yep, that's what it'll be used for. Next to New Bay. We'll get to that in a minute.
A lot of the ground plumbing has been slowly being loaded on trailers to move to the launch site.
Yeah, that will happen a lot more over the next few weeks as they start to get some of those commodities trenches finished up. And
did they already move the load between pictures? There's that trailer filled with green pipe on the previous photo.
You're going to make me try and find a previous photo. Here we go. Where was it? Oh, right there.
Yeah.
Maybe. That looks like one of the pipes they lifted into that trench, to be honest, except it was black, but maybe the camera didn't show it right.
Yeah, on the opposite side, there's a trailer filled with vacuum jacketed pipes ready to go as well. By the red shipping container and the chopstick arms. Next row over.
Oh, gotcha. Well, let's have a look at this shot and see if well, that one's there, and yep, that one's gone.
Wow.
So this is the low altitude. So that was the difference between this. Well, hang on, or it hasn't been loaded yet, because this would have been. I'm not sure which order the Platos were taken. Sorry, but it was the low altitude first or the high altitude first. Anyway, nonetheless, that has moved, or is in the process of being moved. This one hasn't moved yet. I wonder if that's just arrived for processing rather than leaving.
They've been welding them two together, and they're around 20.
Okay. So they're on their way to the launch site.
Yeah, so going from like 6 to 12 meter sections.
So last week we saw, no, they're tanks or look like protective covers, I think, for these tanks. Doesn't seem to be much change here either. It seems to be, I think this discoloration wasn't here last week. There's something in these little marks here. They may be for those lugs for the mounting of those pads they put on the chopsticks.
It's looking like the reinforcements. The doublers have been welded to more of the joints.
So it's good to see them working on the chopsticks again as far as that sort of infrastructure up there. Yeah, some more of this reinforcement work going ahead. So hopefully that'll end soon and we'll see them roll down to the launch site. I guess a big teller will be when all the scaffolding disappears.
Yeah, it shouldn't be too long for that.
Found the SQD. Oh, my voice. They're doing what we guess they're doing the line boring on the hinge points here. Someone was saying, you were saying, I think, Alex, that the bearings are already in place on the chopsticks.
They've been the exposed end of the one on the right looks like they've been doing a lot of work to the pivot points. And you can't tell from this one.
So we've got a hinge point there and a hinge point up here.
Correct.
I remember they were line board and put bearings in it in. All this was done at a launch site last time. I remember that was, and they were yellow. That was a long time ago. Well, it seems like a long time ago. Probably wasn't really that long ago. A few extra, not much extra up in here. These are all here last week. Not much has changed. I think on this side here, yeah, hang on, I'll get a better shot. No, that's my shot. Over here, they've removed more shelving, and we've noticed that they're bringing the downcomer. Here's the shot I'm looking for. They're bringing the downcomers out of the factory these days, so it looks like downcomer is not going to be, downcomers aren't going to be stored here anymore. They're getting delivered straight to the factory, which is another good indication that more and more areas inside Star Factory are coming online, which is good instead of having all these little processes being spread out randomly all over Starbase. They're getting more and more consolidated into the actual build site. Into the factory, sorry. Some really nice lit up photos, brightened photos in amongst all these.
It's unfortunate how much scaffolding's on the carriage.
Yeah, it's, what do they call it? Scafungus. It's got a really bad case of scafungus. It seems to be more and more its week. It's just, I know it's not, but it just seems that way. So yeah, hopefully we'll see that disappear soon. Okay, on to the Scrapyard, where we see bits and pieces of Ship 26. Let me have a look at this other photo here.
Well, let's take a moment for Ship 26 passing.
Minute silence. So we have the aft section, and we have the locks barrel section, we have the common dome section, and now also here is the forward dome section, and I believe the payload section as well has been moved over here as well by now.
Yeah, I think the only thing left was the nose cone.
So we got to see the squid in action again. We haven't seen the squid used for a while. I guess we may see the squid again in the near future when they decide to scrap good old Ship 32.
Yeah, SpaceX has broken up with Block 1 and are ready to move on to their new relationship.
That's one way to say it.
They're shiny and new. Oh, look, more concrete was cut.
Oh, over here? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're digging. They're digging with the vacuum thing. That's a black one, or is that in the shadow? Perhaps it's just in the shadow. They're usually white, those trucks. I wonder what that's for. You never know around here. So over the few weeks, we've been watching these new legs for the stands, and here we see a ship stand now on these new little pedestals. So where's another ship? So this ship stand here, can see here, there's the 6 legs that get bolted down. I think there's a better photo too. Let's try this one. Actually, this one. So this ship stand here. So they bolt them down at the bottom currently, and when they put its ship on its stand down, they need to bolt it down, obviously, to stop it falling over. So instead of having to unbolt all those bolts or any bolts at all, now they have the base set up permanently, and just with some pins, they can pin it down with 6 pins. And because there's electrical and maybe not hydraulic, but because there's something running to them, perhaps it's automated as well. So they just have to flick a switch and the pins engage themselves even.
It's very much how they assemble the cranes with the hydraulic pins filling.
True. That is black. I'm sure that's black. I've never seen a black one before. But a little bit disappointed to see an old style ship transport stand on it. I was really hoping by now we'd see a new style transport stand that doesn't need chains to the SPM2, because I think the chains look a bit rough. I can say rural again, but that I don't mean to. With all due respects to farmers, they're such an innovative lot.
Rustic.
And I'd say that with because I come from a farm. I'm a child of a farmer, so I understand. So how's it go if you're because I'm from the farm, I can tell farmer jokes. And it appears we may see the same sort of system here for these stands because they've added those electrical lines here. So we may see the same system for booster transport stands where they no longer have to bolt everything down so much, where they can just have a pin system, which means that they're going to have to modify them a little bit. So this stand would have been modified a bit to receive those pins.
Are they, dare I say it, making a universal
For
base?
ship order? That's an interesting question. No, because there's different amounts of them, aren't there? There's more. Yeah, they're different, aren't they?
Oh, there's 8 and 8, it looks like.
Yeah, maybe. Go SpaceX if they are, that's for sure. Okay, sorry, that meant a quietness there.
Squirrel.
So yeah. Oh, what's the squirrel? Where's squirrel? What squirrel? So anyway, we're not going to see the thrust puck this one used for a bit. We've got to wait for ship 34 to get ready for cryo testing. Although it's not far up, didn't we see its aft section go in? So 34 won't be far away.
Yeah, I think it's just missing its aft flaps now.
Oh, you're hot micing a bit there, Lawrence. Cool, no worries. And I guess Booster 15 will be next up onto that cryo stand. Okay, the crane yard's looking very much like a crane yard these days with a few cranes in it and a few SPMTs, so that's definitely the new crane yard, without a doubt. So that's good news. So the scrapyard's moved once again. This used to be the scrapyard, so the scrapyard's over here now. So I guess, just as a side joke, that perhaps that's why we haven't seen these scrapped yet, because they're waiting. These parts are waiting for the scrapyard to come to it rather than it go to the scrapyard, which it's in the scrapyard now, so perhaps I'll get rid of them finally. Because the hot stage ring, it's been well and truly tested by now in flight. Tested quite well. Quickly look at the parking garage. This photo. So they're getting close to completing the parking garage with the, we can see cars parked inside the higher levels now. We haven't seen cars parked in these levels yet. So we can see them putting the expanded steel on, which is looking nice and tidy. So we expect to see that over the whole black, all the black sides. Make it a little bit safer. They've painted, I think they did this last week though, they painted all this painting's been finished. And we're going to move to the build sites. I'll just stay here for a second. Any questions and donations, please, for Sanchez, Joe?
Yeah, I got a question from Crane Man regarding the OLM. Are the small strips with holes right of the OLM for the deluge plate?
They are for the top pancake, is what we're presuming for now.
Yeah, not sure where exactly they're going to go. They may be, like Alex said, for the back here to put the manifold on, so they don't look curved at all to go on the curved side. So still waiting to see what happens on that curved side. But yeah, they look very much deluge related. Although they're stacked, unless they're just, oh no, they're just sitting with a plank of wood on them. Yeah, there's a single piece there, so there's another single piece there. Yeah, water deluge for sure.
All right, another question from Crayman. Do the white tanks need to move first to make way for the carriage being transported out, or is there a different route out of Sanchez?
Sorry, Joe. Say the question again.
Sure. Do the white tanks need to move first to make way for the carriage being transported out, or is there a different route to take out of Sanchez for the carriage?
Thank you. That's a good question. Perhaps we'll see them come around here, around this way. The sticks and the carriage have to come out, of course. Maybe by then there's a clear way through here even. There's a good chance that these tanks will be at the launch site before the carriage and the sticks anyway, because everything's set up there ready for them now. I've actually expected to see them move already. So they could move first, which again is going to be tricky. I guess I'll get them around because this area is a bit blocked over here, isn't it? That's a good question. How they're going to maneuver things around now with all the work going on. I mean, even getting the OLM out through here is going to be a tight squeeze. So definitely an interesting to see how they actually do that.
For sure. I want to thank Methane Man for a $100 PayPal donation. It says Methane Man here for fuel. Thank you for that amazing support, Methane Man. We appreciate you. Got a question. Well, let's see. And another PayPal donation for your continued flyovers and analysis. $10. Wes Reading. Thank you, Wes. Appreciate that. Six-String Simpleton with a question. How many active flight-proven boosters will they be able to have on hand before storage space becomes an issue, slowing or halting booster production?
I think scrapping will happen as they're iterating more than stoppage for storage issues.
Yeah, currently 3 there and 3 in the Mega Bay. 1 can be stored, I guess, or in the process of being built. So that may become a problem in the future, but hopefully, like we're saying about reflying boosters, it won't be as big a problem as we think, perhaps.
Yeah, I can see them actually, when they refly them, expending them like they do with the Falcon 9s in the future.
All right, my cue is clear.
Awesome, and thank you so much, Methane Man. The donation's amazing. Thank you. But just before I go to the build site, we can see the drilling rig, just to get a bit more idea where it is just there. We'll touch base on that at the build site first here. Build site, here's a nice panoramic view of Starbase and the launch site. Some really nice photos coming through this week. So your Patreon members should be receiving, or should have already received by now. Okay, we'll start here. So we've got the drilling rig here, which is being set up. I think this is the drill actually beside it rather than a rebar cage as yet.
The auger is still not assembled. It's to along the left edge by the white wall. You can see now further to the right. There is one section. There's several sections.
So what's that bit?
Could be a cage, but
yeah, they've been actually actively putting in the piles. In fact, this morning it looked like the CFA left.
Oh, it's already moved away from here.
Yeah.
I'm expecting it at the launch site.
It actually turned left, so I don't know if they might be moving it over to that the retail area.
Okay. So when we first go on.
It wouldn't be the first time trucks have got lost.
Yeah.
So when we first saw the drilling rig here with the idea they're going to build a new gigabay, I guess we should call it, in this area, perhaps even this whole area here. Personally, I'm speculating it could even be this whole area in here. I think I said it in show and tell, or I might have, I'm not sure where I said it. I mean, it'd be nice if it came all the way to the factory, wouldn't it? I mean, there's still room for things to go in and out around the back there. But that's pretty unlikely sort of speculation. I mean, vehicles can move around the back around that way. But it would be nice to see it, just personally. Be nice to see it up against tear down this front thing, which is something that they do, tear things down. But I think more than likely it's going to be sort of that shape, I guess. There's talk it could include the parking garage. I'm not ruling that out, but I personally don't think so, but I have been wrong before. I don't want to set up an argument about that, but so either way, even with this amount of area, I did some calculations with the size of taking the size of the current Mega Bay 2 and that there's three, current Mega Bay 1, and that there's 3 stands down the back and 2 at the front. It works out about 8 boosters across the back here, if that was the case. So that would be awesome for booster production, having 8 work stands across the back and then even on the walls here, and maybe even up through the middle. So if that's the case, even if it's only back to here and doesn't include Star Factory, it's still a huge improvement in an area that they're going to need to produce boosters. But once again, booster production is probably not as important as ship production because boosters will be reusable. And if Falcon 9's an indication of 20, and I think they're looking at going up to 100 launches, is it, for Falcon 9s?
Currently, I believe it's 40 is what their goal is.
Which is amazing, anyway. Just a little funny note. This angle makes Shadow look like a Sherman tank, or an American tank, whatever.
I thought it was a tank for a split second, to be honest.
Okay, high bay, we can see what's left of Ship 26. So we saw, I think it was cut through here, actually through the stringers. They've cut a lower section off, and I believe a payload section as well has gone as well now, just leaving, like Lawrence said, just the nose cone. And they've been using, this load spreader for it, and they've been using Shadow on that load spreader to move it out into Sanchez. We saw in Mega Bay 1 this week, we saw Booster 15 move from the front left turntable up onto the centre stand. And I think just now, recently, like in the last few hours, we've seen Booster 16's aft section come into Mega Bay 1 and sit on the turntable. So the turntable to the left is designed for a booster aft section, whereas the turntable on the right is not. So they'll build the lock section here without the aft section. They'll put the aft section on here and bring the LOX tank over on top and complete the LOX section on this side, and they can start building the methane section on this side and eventually put them together. Thanks to the ring watchers and show and tell and all that for helping me understand how that all works. So hopefully we'll get to see Booster 15 out on the cryo stand in the next few weeks, and hopefully we get to see Booster 14 out on the OLM for a static fire soon, and hopefully we get to see Ship 33 out at Massie's for a static fire soon in preparation for Flight 7. So going on to Flight 7, I'm not sure if any information's out there, but for Flight 7, I guess Elon mentioned that they're going to do one more landing on the ocean, and then if that's successful, they're going to try a catch on Flight 8. So we may see some catch hardware on Ship 33, definitely on Ship 34, which is going to need a whole new flight license. FAA has been a lot quicker these days. Since about October, they seem to get a bit of a wriggle on. So perhaps we'll see that paperwork sooner rather than later. And I think going into the new year, we may even see a whole different system for the FAA yet. So interesting to see just how long it takes for the paperwork this time and for how long it takes them to get the hardware ready. So not sure when Flight 7's going to be, but there's a few things that need to be done beforehand.
Yeah, just touching on that subject real quick, they also restarted the PEA public comment period on the 20th, and that's supposed to end on the 17th. That's for the updated launch cadence of 25 launches a year, as well as all the Pad B infrastructure, Block 2, Block 3. So that was good to see that process restarted.
So that includes the fact they got a Block 2 ship. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, that's for everything up through Block 3, all the future proofing Starbase, basically.
Cool, because obviously Block 2 needs a new license because it's a new ship, new rocket. Okay, I'll swing around the back of Mega Bay 2 here. Okay, not a lot to report around here. There's a bit of concrete's not sacred at Starbase, obviously. It's a bit of concrete storm wall getting pulled down over here. Probably going to make it more standard like the rest of it, or maybe they're going to add a bit of land. I'm not sure what's going to happen there. I think they might have added some stuff in here, but they still haven't used this big manifold. A few of these pipes, looks like they're not quite finished in this area. I guess they've got this bit of plumbing hooked up because they put concrete over the top of it, so there's more than likely pipes underneath there at least. I think we saw over the last few weeks putting these plants are getting put in, which is looking nice. It's going to be a nice little commute to work along here for some employees. Over the back here, I think I've got a shot where you can see, I think it might be one of the long range shots. We can see that they've actually hooked these cooler units up. No, not that one. Might have been this long shot. No, I'm not sure. I thought we saw that in show and tell.
We did, or one of these shots, I believe, does indicate that.
Anyhow,
It was one of those from that perspective.
just bear with me here for a sec. Now we could see the little pipes going across that they've been hooked up. That's just a minor detail. I think from here too we can see the gates looking a bit more finished. Perhaps even on this shot here, the gate is a bit more finished. Now, I'm still not sure. I'm not sure whether they're temporary or they're the actual gates. You can see one over here seems to be swung. That seems to be a gate. So perhaps these are gates. I'm just not sure. They've got the box where you put your ID card in or whatever.
Looks like pedestrian and two automotive gates.
Yeah. There was a bit of confusion, but this one kind of looks like it's got a base. There was a bit of confusion about that through show and tell. I think these are permanent, but over here I think are more temporary over here too. It's a bit hard to tell the difference these days. Okay, with that, let's go on to the office. We did find out what these holes were for. They're not for a pergola or anything structural. They're for palm trees. I think this shot shows it better. We have herbage. We have some palm trees. Oh, there's even some stood up. There you go. Nice and pretty.
And Director's Axe.
Right under the X, yeah. Well, that'll make a nice aesthetic shot with a photo through here with the palm trees in front of that building and that X. Which I guess is a good look for a rocket company to have a bit of greenery in their photos, show that they're somewhat environmentally conscious. Over on the building here, we noticed that they've put up this scaffold as an access way. A little bit more stuff in here, but nothing really still to indicate what it is. Alex, you'll be pleased to see that they've covered off that little gap up there.
That just increases the mystery.
I know, right? There's heaps of suggestions here that these are vents like for a cafe below, like a cafeteria area or a kitchen sort of area, but in my experience, I've never needed a recess like this to do that. They usually just pop them up out the top, whether they just didn't want that aesthetic or... I think there's going to be more to this than what we're seeing still to come. Even for like air conditioning units, like they just put them on top here. There's no real need for them to go down to a recess like this. So it's still very much a mystery what that little recess is for. Tell us what you think in the comments below. The roof's coming along. It's lots of roof panels going in. We can, I think last week, the week before, we could see that how they've shaped the roof to allow water to flow into these drains. They're doing all the finishing the roof up here as well. There won't be much left on the... This won't be able to see in there very soon. They'll have all this covered in by next week. That should all be roofed in, which would be really nice to see finally. But it's come a long way between seeing just footings down on the opposite all the way now to almost to completion. It's been quite the journey. On the front, they've finally decided to put cladding on and leave it on this time. We saw over the last few weeks some cladding getting put on here and then removed, but that's all being put on permanently this time to match the previous section. So we've got glass all the way down under here and solid panelling here to match the other end of the building. So we won't be able to see in there for much longer. Getting the parapet wall put up, it won't be much longer, and that'll be a nice straight edge along here. But a lot of people in show and tell have been like, thank goodness they're doing that to straighten out this wonky wall, the wonky roof, sorry. They're building a new crane. They're putting a new crane together. I think it ended up being this is the crane that they're putting these boom sections on to lift more things up into the roof. I think that's what we end up working out, didn't we?
They may have already taken off that luffing jib that they added.
So they put it on, done the job, and taken it up again already.
Yeah, those two air handlers were hoisted up yesterday, I believe.
Okay, yep. Quite the job just for 2 air conditioning units. What do you call them? Air handlers.
Air handlers.
So there's one put up here already. One put up over that side already, maybe using that crane. So I guess there was 2 maybe in this area.
I was looking for where they set them, and I couldn't figure it out.
It doesn't look like there's any real pattern, does it?
Stop pointing those things out. You're not a nice person, Steph.
I try. Okay, we can see here they haven't actually taken that wall out yet. I guess they won't till the roof's finished. That'd be silly to take that out. I think we might have seen... I'm not sure actually.
Oh, we just saw where the large air handler went. Right where you're below your hand. Right there.
Ah, there it is there, yep.
Sneaky.
and the smaller, the smaller one maybe hidden
in the
too
shadow between the two on the far left edge.
Yeah, right there.
Okay, so managed to get these up. Okay, they must be late arrivals because I managed to get all these up. I mean, that one fair enough, but this one here, it's a bit of a mystery. So way back when they were building this section over here, there was a doorway in here. I think we've seen that get removed, come out of the factory. Okay, that's only a minor detail.
And the row of missing air handlers where that driving alleyway was.
Over here.
Yep.
Well, they're going to need a big crane to get over there, aren't they? Oh, that's why they use a helicopter, don't they?
Yeah, that's kind of impressive.
Yeah, it was. Okay, roadworks continue. Groundworks continue. Looks like it's a person handler. I think from the other side. Where's another side? 1 second. This shot will do. Over here, they've got that window cleaner rig on this section now. It was over there last week. So they're still working away. Got that panel completely finished. So it's got this panel to go. And that'll all be nice and finished. Still looks tiny bit weird, but anyway, I guess from the ground it'll look pretty impressive.
They removed a lot of those temporary walls.
Oh, that's right. Yep, in here.
Correct.
So these are the permanent walls. They'll be more than likely like a glass fencing along here, perhaps. So we saw glass fencing over in this area, I'm pretty sure.
We did.
Yep, thank you. We've got some uni-strut for perhaps fire, or at least some commodities going up the wall there. Kind of looks like fire.
Or drainage, perhaps.
Yep, could be. So remember, these aircon units were sitting sort of in the walls, so that really shows how those walls have been removed. I guess those aircon units will come out now. They should be getting close to using the heat exchangers down here. They should be getting close to using these, perhaps for some more permanent air conditioning in the office building, in that area at least.
It's really coming together.
Yeah, it won't be long. There won't be much to report on this area as well. You can still see that doorway going in there. Maybe we'll get a glimpse of things from time to time coming in and out of this area for the ring watchers to keep a bit of a track on ships and boosters. Okay, we're not doing too bad on time, guys. We're doing well. Moving over to the Starlink integration building. I guess it's still somewhat that. I wonder if they're building a new PES loader in here. What's going on in that building? I wonder if soon we see that building getting torn down. So they're continuing with this trench work. It still appears very much like accommodation sort of amenities going in here. So there'd be like fresh water and black water and electrical. I think it's going to end up being much like this little area here. And I'm pretty sure I remember them having those similar trench work in here when they first put this little area in. There was that same sort of fishbone sort of shape trenching that we're seeing over here. Fishbone, that's probably not the right word, but you know what I mean. Around like this.
Herringbone. Let's get specific fish involved.
There is. We have dairies around, have what they call herringbone dairies, but they've all been outdated by rotary dairies, of course. Oh, dirt work. They're removing dirt finally. Where's all that going? You know where that's
To
from?
I know where it's going. They're shipping it back to the launch site around the propellant trench.
Starting to put the grade back up again. Yeah. This little pool area, I think there's some more footings for the. Looks like it's going to be like an amenities building, perhaps change rooms and whatever in here, toilet facilities and showers and what have you. It still doesn't look like there's going to be any sort of structure around the whole pool. So perhaps open air swimming pools. Still looks like a nice pool to do laps in with some shallow areas. Still looks like a little a wading pool for the kids. Excuse me, and a jacuzzi type pool. Just before we leave the build site, we'll have a quick look at the sushi bar. We can see there last week we saw some of the pagoda type roofing put up, and we can see that continuing. Looks like a Japanese pagoda sort of type structure, the roof. So we'll go over to questions, please, Joe.
Yeah, question from B1062. Do we have any idea when Mega Bay 2 will be fully operational? Is it not already?
It seems to be. The only thing really missing is that turntable they never really put in, but it seems like they're using this little corner for assembling the downcomers before they put, like they build a ship up on the turntable at the back. I think then they put the rig here at the front for the downcomers and then lift the ship over the top of the rig and then put it back on the turntable. So I think it's pretty well at where it needs to be.
Kind of what I was thinking. Along the same lines with turntables, Missing Tools asking, can the turntable and robot welder be configured for plasma cutting of ships? I suppose for scrapping, obviously.
It from ship 26, it very much looks that way.
Yeah, they're pretty clean cuts on ship 26. If you compare it to the butchery that happened at the launch site with the cryo shells and the cryo tanks, yeah, they seem to have got their cutting down quite well. So we're seeing that. So there's 3 stands in here. Currently, I've only really seen one ship at a time. On those stands, I guess in the near future we'll start seeing an increase in production, and we may see all 3 stands getting used at once in the very near future, even all 4 stands, in fact, in the very near future. It seems to be finished, ready for full production, but I don't think it's getting used in its full capability yet by any means. It seems to only be using about a third of the facilities that are in there at one time right now. Whereas in Mega Bay 1, we notice that there's quite often 3 boosters plus a booster being constructed. So Mega Bay 2 is pretty well getting used fully. But yeah, we're still just yet to see Mega Bay 2 get fully utilised. But it's ready for it, though.
All right. Bozzilla with a question often asked, but why are they not covering the flat roof with solar? Is it too heavy? Not worth it? Too much cleaning due to the beach?
They're
Go on.
and it's dirty, and they're not done with the building yet.
We did see, was it Giga Texas had a massive amount of solar panels put on its roof. Perhaps we'll see that here. I wouldn't rule that out yet. There's a lot of debate about whether how efficient and how much solar is actually worthwhile having. Personally, I think it's worth having, but
It's an added shade on the roof. I mean, it'll cut down on cooling quite a bit. I expect it to be covered with solar in the
if
next
not
6
with
months.
if not with the SpaceX, like they did at Giga Texas, instead of Tesla up here, it'll have like SpaceX written on it or something, or perhaps just covered. I mean, but that's yet to be seen. It's not guaranteed, but yeah, I would expect personally myself as well to see it up there.
They still speak of the expansion of solar farm in their latest PAE report that came out this week.
Oh, there
So
you go.
they didn't say where it would be, but the roof as a factory is a most logical location.
Agreed.
All right, all clear to move on.
All right, let's go over to the launch site. How's chat going? G'day, chat. Wind turbines? Maybe not. Who's that? Jason, sorry. Okay, one launch site. Looking pretty good. Still fairly cleaned up from the launch. Let's go quickly and have a look at pad A first.
Work on the OLM continues.
Correct. So a little bit of superficial charring over that side again. I think there's some charring left over from the last launch. They've got some scaffolding set up. They're obviously working on the actual booster quick disconnect interface. They've got the hood open, everything. They've got the scaffolding up to do some maintenance on the clamps and the booster Raptor connect quick disconnects. So there's still a bit of robusting, is that the right word, to do on the future launch table. We're thinking the future launch table, the new launch table, is going to be quite a lot more robust than this one.
Oh, come on, go with the robusting for fake words on corporate 400.
I like making up words. That's a good view down into so they've got the clamps open, they've got the quick disconnects open, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, they chained the doors open.
Yeah, and I haven't seen the alignment jig yet. We might see that still in the near future. They haven't done any work on the SQD though. We noticed straight after the launch there was quite a few crew up here on the sticks, so there's a lot of questions after the launch as to why the booster didn't come back to land, and some people were saying maybe a sensor on the chopsticks because they did seem to go there straight away. Although we did see that tweet from Elon reassuring us that it was actually just a communication error, a communication failure between the tower computer, which I believe is in the base of the tower, and the launch and back at command. Now, whether that was to do with this antenna being bent or not, I'm not sure. Possibly. I think we've noticed a one-directional aerial up on top there, but it definitely got bent. I think that just this side's guy wires failed and it got pushed over a little bit.
Yeah, they've already straightened it out.
That's to answer a question from 55 Chevy. Okay, what else? It looks okay. So the launch site, yeah, it handled the launch quite well, as has been happening lately. I still have to do some sort of maintenance work up in here.
Yeah, it looks like they've been working on the legs again as well after launch.
And maybe some work up under here as well. Okay, we'll move back over to the OLMB. So this week, one good thing we noticed this week is they pumped all the water out. And this trench we saw there a couple of weeks ago doesn't look like it's actually for anything structural, mainly maybe just to push all the tailings down into here from the rig here to get rid of it, make it easy to get rid of.
It's about the width of the front end loader. You see carrying out muck.
Yeah. So the trash pumps are pumping into these sludge tanks, and perhaps then dumping into this little. There's actual pipes coming straight into here, into this little sediment pond, much like they got at the back of Star Factory, and then it would overflow out here into this little area where there's another silt barrier again. So they're making sure they're not letting any silt out into this wetlands area, which seems a bit of an overkill, but anyway, the environmental people need to keep a check on things, and it's a good thing they do. They've got a couple of well points here, I know where they've been covered in last week, so they're pumping water out as well in this little area. I think, Alex, you're saying might have been an issue getting these down.
Correct. We spotted those last week, but we weren't quite sure what they were, I believe.
Yep, so I can see some actual pipes in them this week. And they'll be pumping over in this area somewhere. Now just quickly, can I find our Schrodinger's boom? Hang on. I'm sure it's over there. It was there. Oh. They went and moved it again, didn't they? Oh, someone found it for us. It was right there. Never mind. Back to the trench. Apologise for that. So it's still not here. So it's somewhere on site. One of these photos will have it. I'll find it later.
Yeah, the crane's actually been raised, and they've used it today to lift netting back up onto Tower 2.
Add or remove?
Add.
Oh.
They've added on the lower again, yeah.
That's hilarious.
That,
I can never go.
no, I had high hopes that they were going to start stripping the scaffolding off.
Same here.
Continuing on with cryopiping, I think there's more cryopiping added this week. Looks like they're continuing on with a trench even through this area. So we're expecting to see that trench.
As well as you can see, it looks like they're starting to do something to the other section of the trench as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, they've got some kind of formwork or something going on down in there, some steelwork perhaps. That's formwork there. Oh no, that's the sheet piling.
It's the edge they're using to stabilize that section of cut sheet piles.
Oh, I see down there. All right. Well, I'll continue on. They're continuing this drilling. I saw a good video. Make sure you check out videos of how these machines work. They drill the pipes in and push a cable in. I've noticed the cable's got little plastic pieces along the way to keep it centered. Then they pump in some grout. And then they put a little. I guess they use a similar thing on suspension bridges where they'll pull them tight. They have a little cap on them with a little bit like a plumbing pipe. There's like a cone-shaped little thing in the collar that pulls tight, and then they put a machine on it and pull them tight, and that keeps them nice and tight. That's keeping this the sheet piling pinned back.
Yeah, those long tendons that they put in those pipes.
And they're long. They're going a long way in. They're quite a decent angle too. The video I saw, they're a bit shallower than that, but these are going down on quite an angle.
It'd be nice if we'd see them actually, if they pre-ship the bundles or if they're assembling on site.
The white bundles?
No, there's also the cables that are in those, that they put in those spools.
Oh, yeah, of course. So with they may be in these. They may be them.
Yeah, sometimes it comes as individual strands and they cut and assemble the bundles. Quite a bit of labor usually.
Yeah, they're doing it by hand. They're pushing the cable in by hand on the video I saw. Just looking for that formwork or some of it is still there.
Which formwork for the trench?
Oh, we saw some last week put back here.
It's right there where your hand is nicely
Still.
stacked.
Oh, okay, yep, there it is, yeah. Very good. Okay, we've got a new crane, a new LR 1000. It's going to be set up different to the SpaceX one, Marvin or CraneX, depends on which channel you watch. Hashtag Team Space. Through the week, we've seen this crane get moved over to this crane pad here. We've seen it has its first section. It's the butt of the boom set up, and heaps of boom pieces have arrived since this photo, and they're probably currently getting laid out here.
There's the tip right by your hand.
There it is. Ha, I found it. Well, it
You
ended
said
up over
crane
there.
3 times, so
Oh, I did too. That usually works.
the section on the new crane is it's mast. They haven't, at least I don't think they've started assembling the main boom yet.
Okay, cool. I'm trying to get a shot from that other side. So last week we saw the drawworks crane, actual drawworks get put in. This week, I don't know if we're going to see it, but around this side they put the dead spool. They put the other spool in there. I can see them. Is that the mounts for it there, perhaps?
I think that's where they welded it down to.
So this is
Yeah.
the dead end. So this is the dead end. They can reel cable back into the system to replace cable, as far as I understand. There'll be a block to break the brake block. There's a name for the block at the bottom. I'm not good with my words today. Sorry. A lot of that dirt is coming in here in this area, filling in this sort of area. The dirt from the build site.
Yeah, it's filling in the commodities trench up above there.
This shot shows the more of the finish elevation's going to be around the tower.
Yeah, especially around this area. We can see they've left a bit. So the top of that concrete should be roughly the top of the soil around here.
Yeah.
And starting to backfill. Oh, look, right in underneath here.
Yeah, it's about halfway filled, the openings.
So we've got all these commodities here coming out this commodities trench here, this culvert.
Yeah.
So we're expecting to see this trench continue over to here, and this trench continuing over to here, and this other one over here too, the other culvert in here, and perhaps coming over to here. So still not sure what's going to happen in this actually fluids bunker. It's just a place where they can, I guess these commodities perhaps maybe joined in here, half going to the OLM and half going to the tower, because on pad A they isolated the tower and the OLM lines all the way back from the actual pumps. So we may see two separate sets of cryo pipes in this trench all the way through, and one going to the tower and then one continuing onto the OLM. There's going to be quite a lot in that trench, that culvert going over to the tank farm. There'll be all these lines, plus the main cryo lines, plus the methane return lines. It's going to be a busy little spot.
The high pressure gases they might be distributing inside of the square vault
Yeah, that's about all I can see that would be needed in that vault, to be honest.
And
But like I said, I could be wrong. Moving over to electrical. Oh, go on.
you could be right, and they'll just change their mind halfway through.
Yeah, we've seen that happen before. Moving over to the electrical building. So there's the three main bolts there. We saw coming electrical conduits coming there, and then we saw them coming around the corner here. There's another vault. Oh, I did spot it. Is it under there? There's another vault. And they're putting a new one in here. Which may be to do with proposed water deluge farm in this area somewhere. Or it may have something to do with the tanking. I'm not sure yet. I think that pretty well covers the Pad A areas. Just work going. Oh, go on.
To the earlier question for the air separation potential plant, it's be up there where they were staging all this CC 8800 parts.
We saw that basic mud map from SpaceX a while ago, and the air separation unit was placed in that area back there. But that mud map's been slightly revised. This roadway is in a slightly different spot to where it was on that mud map. So we're not taking that as anything accurate for the finer points, but I think we can still safely assume that's where the air separation unit's going, and the water deluge system's going sort of in this area, which is not shaded from the tower like the other one is, but being a trench, it might not need it as much. There was another question, Sanchez, about whether it's going to be a single or dual exit. I mean, it's pretty symmetrical from the OLM being sort of here. It's the same size on both sides. If it's going to be single-sided, you'd think the trench would end either here or here, but it seems very much to be symmetrical either way. So that's what I'm basing my guess, that it's a two-exit flame trench. I'm not sure how you can see a single one, but once again, I've been wrong before. Could be wrong again.
Yeah,
double-sided trenches are more common than most people. The what is it? Ariane 5 and 6 both had double-sided trenches.
Yeah, I think they actually had a triple sided. So it's just rare. Like, I think, is it 39A that now has a single exit for Falcon?
Yes, and SLS they made from a double to a single. On 39B as well.
Yeah.
And Vandenberg Space Shuttle pad had a triple exit.
Phil, I think my one they said they would answer here. I think, did we answer your question, Phil? So would it be will it be symmetrical? That's Phil just brought up a good point. Because the commodities are going through here, do you think maybe this side will be steeper than that side? I don't necessarily think that's correct. It may be, but
no. It might cross over the top of the commodities trench.
Yeah, I think the commodities trench is well and truly out of the way there.
It's below the surface of the trench at that point.
So we expect to see the sheet pilings getting cut off, don't we?
I expect it to be filled up to the height of most of them.
Of course, from the grade over here. Yes, that's right. There's a big. Yeah, that's right. that grade up there is possibly the top of this sheet piling.
Correct.
So there's a big drop off through here.
So that's making it deceptive, making one side seem considerably shorter than the other.
Sorry, Joe. I just happened to glance over chat for a second. Someone asked about the SpaceX sign. I thought just while I'm here, I might just address it. Sorry, I really don't mean to step on your toes, Joe.
No, you're all good.
And it doesn't look like they're using this entrance at all, to be honest. Maybe in the future they'll start using it again, but at the moment they seem to be using this entrance down here and this entrance further along. So, and I'll move on now. I'll leave that for now. Thank you. Well, let's go over to the middle of the site. And an interesting development. I guess they've taken all the all the formwork off. We saw that not long after the last flyover. Was that same day of the show, or the next day after the flyover? They were taking the formwork off this area, and that's what was stacked over there near the tower we saw earlier. So they've opened up the trench here and showing us some more piles. I think there's even one just there, and I think we can, one of the angles we can see one even just there somewhere, or even over here. So I'm not sure whether this is doing a T or whether it's going to put. I'm not sure whether they need that much room to put expansion elbows in. What's going on there, to be honest? Well, they're just dog-legging it.
It's a good question.
Well, give me an answer. Come on.
It wouldn't surprise me if they dogleg it, because I don't even think the ones going to the Pad A are just straight runs.
Why would you ever make a straight run?
Doesn't sound very SpaceXy. SpaceXy, sorry, I should say that carefully. There is a shot that shows that line up. Hang, give me one sec. I think it's slightly. Maybe there's a shot. No, it doesn't matter. That it lines up. It already lines up with the bunker, so but a dogleg won't make it any different. Much different.
Unless some of the commodities are leaving the trench there and is continuing to the bunker.
Yeah, maybe a T for some reason. Yeah.
Well, the deluge farm should be stored in that area, so perhaps it's gas generation like they had at the main at Massie's.
So with that, it would require liquid nitrogen to come to the water deluge farm.
Correct. And their separation plant would require locks and liquid nitrogen piping as well.
So just on that, I propose that they may be able to shut the ASU down while they do a launch, but you reminded me, Alex, that it's very difficult to shut down an air separation unit.
Yeah, you have to maintain the temperatures or else you lose your production, and for that period of time where you power it on and establish all the temperatures and pressures, they can be quite finicky.
So it's likely we'll see a dedicated LOX and liquid nitrogen line coming through from the separation unit to the tank farm.
Correct. And some argon storage at some point.
So they're going to have a whole lot of spare liquid nitrogen, aren't they?
Correct.
Which is good for doing things like cooling down cryo tanks. I mean, cooling down cryo liquids that are stored in cryo tanks, sorry. Okay, we have what we can call a mess of pipes going on here. So we've got tridents over here, and almost looks like a trident point in here too. I think that's what you're trying to
That's
explain to
where,
me.
correct. That's where it connects. The lower line would be the output on and that shape that is the input. Then the trident and the lower pipe connect. I really should have made a diagram.
No, it's all good. We'll plenty of time to make diagrams. This is not quite as simple as we first thought. So much like what's going on over at pad A under here, there's a whole heap of complex sort of plumbing and under here, some complex plumbing and valves where they're switching between filling the ship and booster and then detanking through a separate line. So that it's pre-chilled going to the vehicles through the hippos here, and then returning from a detank. It doesn't go back through the hippos. It comes through a separate line back around the outside here and then back to the tanks. So I think that's what we're seeing sort of going on in here, and what Alex is trying to explain with the plumbing here. So when they detank, it won't go back through the sub-chillers, perhaps.
Correct. Because Massie as they are, they're also redoing things.
Okay, through the week, we saw a tank get put in here. I thought it might have been the tank that was at Sanchez, but it's not. It didn't come from Sanchez. It came from down the highway. Pretty sure it's not one of the tanks that was at the port, because those two tanks seem to be specifically going here. These are set up for what looks like those bases seem set up especially for the two tanks we saw at the port. So a new tank new to Starbase has arrived for that little tank mount there.
Will it be nitrogen or will it be LOX?
That's always a good question.
Yeah, I wondered if it might have been one of the two tanks that came from the McGregor tripod stand.
Well, that's a good thought, yep.
The shorter of them, it would have been.
Doesn't leave a lot of room here. I guess they could do a 2-point turn in here. I suppose there's enough room to turn an SPMT3 around that way. But we should see that covered over soon. Then we can start, once they can bring vehicles through here, they'll start to put the surface plumbing up. We should see pipe stands and all sorts of funky things going on in here. Fun things.
Yeah, there's going to be a bunch of pipe stands installed into the, I'm calling it a tunnel, not a trench anymore.
Oh, of course, yeah, the Commentators tunnel, yep. Or culvert, yeah.
And they've been, this dirt that was being moved from the integration building as being backfilled here.
Yep. So we may see we may even see, I suppose, I'm going to say they may see some plumbing going in here soon, but maybe they'll wait till they get rid of some more of the work out here before they start putting plumbing in there.
I thought yesterday I saw on the truck, a truck came in with, I think, one of the lids for this.
Actually, sorry, I'll correct myself there. We actually saw some plumbing getting put in through the week, actually, in here. Looked like the length, because it's quite deep down here between the bottom of the trench and up here. That's quite a bit of distance, and the piece had an elbow and a length on it. So there's actually plumbing going in there now, actually. Sorry, I forgot about that for a second. We were watching that. I was in another channel Discord, and we were watching them do that, I think yesterday, with Alaska and a few others there. Actually, no, that was with Stumpy. Actually, yesterday, that's right. Shout out to Stumpy. and Alaska and all the guys we see around the traps. Haven't done much work in here. They've finished cleaning it out. They've got rid of the machinery that was in here, so that's sitting and waiting to see what happens. I think this shot's a better shot of it. Yeah, that's a better shot. So still no pile, nothing to indicate anything that's going on there, but I imagine something's going to happen. I'm kind of hoping that they redirect this little bit of plumbing and remove these tanks and put decent tanks in this area, to be honest. While we're at the front here, they can see they're installing some grey conduits this time, sort of flexi plumbing, and it's getting pulled through to this point here where the horizontal directional borer is over here. So I'm not sure, between that and the communications line at the front, there's still a bit of infrastructure going on around the place for reasons that I don't know.
And which is odd. There's a lot of conduits running through that area currently.
For some of the people who have been watching for a long time, I get reminded that there's like a whole ton of conduits under this going between the communications bunker over at Pad A and through to, I believe, the communications bunker here as well. So I was sort of wondering how they're going to get power in here, but we may see there's even vaults in here, so we may see some trench work coming across to pick them up yet. There was what were they saying? I think Alaska said 16 feet wide trench full of conduits, and then they put conduits on top again. So there's a ton of conduits under there, like Alex was just saying. I remember seeing some photos too, even in here, there's massive amounts of conduit in this whole area all through here as well. So maybe it's for something different. Maybe it's a different, some kind of communications that can't go in the electrical conduits, or maybe it needs to be something different, or maybe it's water or something different. I'm not sure. Back to post-launch, these tanks seem to have held up better this time. They didn't lose, or did they?
Well,
I don't know. I thought that
both
might have been.
the pills and the recondenser tank survived fairly unscathed.
Very good. Oh, look at that time. We're doing well with that time today. All right, so I've already covered Pad A. Have I missed anything, guys?
I think that pretty much covers most of it.
All right, we'll do a final round of questions, please, Joe. I think there's another PayPal donation.
All right, I hadn't seen one yet, but fun question, speculation from Sputnik Gazer. In 3 years, what size of active fleet and how many classes of Starship do you think there will be?
That's a really good question. So far we know there's going to be Mars ships, there's going to be lunar ships, there's going to be tanker ships, there's going to be depot ships. I'm not sure about point-to-point yet. I can't see that working just yet, but maybe in the future there'll be point-to-point ships even. Not sure about that one. The big trouble with point-to-point ships is how do you get the ship back? Because it can't launch on its own once it's landed. I haven't quite seen anything about that, actually. That's a very good question, that one, as to how they're going to bring a ship back. There's all the ones. I think mostly in all the talks and chats, we've pretty well seen the amount of variance. There's obviously going to be a Starlink ship as well, and there'd be other payload ship made with a bigger door. We're going to see quite a few variants, yeah. And the quantity of them, well, that's just going to increase in time. If Elon keeps his Mars timeline going, there's going to be a ton of ships to be built and sent to Mars. So, yeah, I'll have to keep an eye on that. What do you call it? Excitement guaranteed.
Yeah,
Got that right.
the boosters are sort of coalesce under one variation, thankfully.
Right. Question from Liam Donald. Are they building retention ponds at OLMB? If so, where?
It will be below the trench in the triangular shape.
Yeah, right there.
Agreed.
Well, that was easy. Marcus G asks, when Tower B is finished and ready for use, will Hoppy and the remote camera site have to be relocated?
Strangely, it should stay in the shadows, and it may actually be more protected than it currently is for Pad A launches.
So with the flame trench too, as compared to Pad A, let's go quickly back to Pad A. See, Pad A, because it has no trench, of course, you get the blast in all directions except from the shadow of the tower, and except a little bit from the shadow from the legs. So it's pretty, full 360. But with a flame trench, of course, all that energy is directed in these directions. So it's in the shadow of not only the tower, but it's in the shadow also of the flame trench.
Yeah, I did the plans. They're also showing a lot more walls going up around, so there shouldn't be any reason for any of that to move from that spot.
All right. B1062 asking, how deep do they drill those tiebacks?
Depending on the soil report, a good sort of starting point is twice the depth of the trench.
Aren't
2
these
to 3 times.
aren't these the lengths here?
Um, they can also be cut. Some of them will be that long. So
Cool.
that's 30, 40 meters probably.
All right, good enough for me. Back when we were talking about the tunnel and the dog leg, Phil was asking, do they need to run power cables in it as well? Maybe it's that coming off there to the building.
They
I guess
poss-
go on.
they possibly need some, if it's the whole length, they'll probably need some ventilation in it if it's deep enough for size so that workers could go through it. But primarily, we've seen miles of conduit being put down that looks like for the power feed, that they're trying to keep it independent from the propellant trenches.
Yeah, electrical doesn't need to go in the trench. We saw some conduits come to here. Not sure whether they're going to continue on or not. But like we said, there's plenty of scope for the electrical to go around the front here and then come into the various different places. Maybe some sensors go along with it, but probably not. So I just got distracted there. We'll continue with the questions. Thanks.
All right, Sam Liam asking, what is the trench / hole being dug in the middle of the launch site? I think that's right where we're at here.
Yeah, commodities tunnel, much like what we saw at Pad A. Remember Pad A, the commodities come through here, underground here through, well, I'll call them culverts back then rather than tunnels. So there's one here and there's one over there somewhere, and then there's another one in here somewhere for the other commodities. So it's basically go on.
No, the only reason changing verbiage is just the size is markedly larger, and the construction method with it being held in place with piles. It seems much more robust.
Yeah, for sure, agreed.
I think Liam Donald wasn't paying attention just a couple minutes ago, but what's that coned off square piece of dirt patch next to the trench?
This one?
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah. Maybe
it's a
that's it.
concert stage for the fall music festival. No, the new LR 11,000 will be based there, just like the CC 8800.
And currently is sitting there right now. That's where the new yellow crane is sitting there right now.
Yeah, which kind of indicates that we should see movement sooner rather than later on probably the ship QD will be installed first, with or
Agreed.
without its end.
Agreed.
Well, the Tower 1 was put up without its end, as far as I remember.
It was. This is
So just that part first, or just this part, sorry, first.
I think it
Sorry, that
extends, yeah, right to there. I forgot how massive that arm really is.
Yeah, that square also reminds me of the square they had built for the Deluge farm for Pad A as well.
Oh, no, stop that.
Okay, fine.
I don't want those memories to return.
I want to thank Jeff Cappers for gifting a membership, as well as SNF 1965 for a $4.99 super chat. Keep up the good work. Best flyover photos available. Thank you very much. A question from Phil. From the last post you showed, do you think they did reuse a R2 engine?
Oh, hang on. So I'm just going to quickly go back to that. It looks like they reused an engine, and SpaceX hasn't verified this. It's just something a space fan like yourselves have noted an engine number possibly has flown twice. You can see the numbers here. Perhaps that's the same engine has flown twice, which is pretty exciting if it has. And I think, the first time that we've officially seen an engine, a Raptor engine, fly for a second time, which doesn't surprise me if that's what they did.
Well, it's a good sign also because some of those outer 20 appeared to had suffered some warpage of their bells.
Yeah, they must have picked the one engine that wasn't damaged. So yeah, that's from Rhino, Space Rhino. Thank you very much for that post. And I tend to use stuff on X here. If it's public like this, I'm not scared to show it in public. I mean, it's on a public platform anyway. But we'll give it a shout out to Rhino anyway for putting that post up.
All right, I think we can wrap up.
All right, I want to start off by thanking Lawrence. Thanks very much for your time and comments today.
Thanks for having me as always. Another great show, and thank you to all of our Patreon supporters and YouTube supporters out there. Hope you all enjoyed the launch this week.
And thank you, Alex. Thanks, Lawrence. Always a pleasure. And thank you, Alex. Always a pleasure as well.
Thanks for having me. It was a great show, and I'd also like to extend a thank you to all our Patreons and YouTube members and viewers. And unfortunately, we didn't have time to speak anything of said launch this week. So it was a great show, and back to you.
Yeah, well, we're going to perhaps do a launch recap, but I think there's plenty of those launch recaps out there already. It was a very successful flight, except for the booster, but that's something a little bit of redundancy should fix with tower communications. So we won't go into that. We've reached our 2-hour limit today, so that was good. We managed to do that. And I'm going to sign up and say thank you very much for joining us, everybody, here today. I'm Stephanie B on Aussie Space Girl on YouTube, and I'll see you next week. Thank you, Joe.
All right, you bet. Yep, I will echo all of those sentiments as well. Thank you, Steph. Thank you, Alex and Darth. Appreciate your time and knowledge sharing with everybody today. And thanks, Astro Jen, my lovely wife, for rounding up you talent guys. And thanks, Mauricio, getting these images just absolutely amazing as usual. Most engines cut off. Hot staging confirmed. Love you, bye.